Are you ready for an epic story with excellent loot that ties into New Vegas? If not, prepare for the Fallout 4 creation, Tale of the Beast Hunter, which is free, I think. It wasn't listed as one of the creations included in the creation bundle that came with the anniversary edition of Fallout 4. However, in my creations shop, it was listed as already owned. I checked this on my other installation of Fallout 4 as well, my unmodded Xbox for the PC version, and it also was marked as already owned. So correct me if I'm wrong, but I think this is free. All I had to do was download it. This story starts near the Nahant Sheriff's Department. As we approach, we pick up a new radio signal, emergency frequency J1397M, and we begin the quest, Home Away from Home. Listening to the frequency on our Pip-Boy, it's Morse code. Using an online interpreter, I discovered that this code actually works. The message reads, "Backup needed. Man down near Nahant Police Department. Jack Carter. Call sign, Hobgoblin." The call sign, I think, is an inside reference to the developer of this creation, Hobgoblin Studios. Well, we are right next to the Nahant Police Department, but the signal isn't coming from within that ruin. Instead, it appears to be emanating from somewhere on the other side of this gate to the east. Heading through, our Pip-Boy tells us that it's coming from within this old abandoned house. Getting close, we discover the Beast Hunter's hideout. Inside, we see that it's unusually dark for an interior cell, and immediately we realize that something is wrong. Inside, we find the bodies of gunners. Near to one corpse, we find the ham radio that was creating the broadcast. By turning it off, we turn off the emergency frequency. These gunners were calling for help, but from what? On one of the bodies is a note, egg procurement. Reading it in our Pip-Boy, extreme danger. This is a retrieval mission. The primary is to retrieve pristine deathclaw eggs. Apparently, some high-end collectors with more caps than cents will pay a fortune for unblemished eggs. Proceed with extreme caution. But if there's more text, we don't know because the page is ripped in half. So these gunners came here looking for pristine deathclaw eggs. Why would they come to an abandoned house in Nahant? On the kitchen counter is a cymbal-clacking monkey. Oh crap, that's a trigger. Does that mean this place is booby-trapped? Against the western wall, we find a speaker we can't interact with and a door that's chained on the other side. But directly above that door is a makeshift bomb affixed to the ceiling. Oh crap, the place is booby-trapped. Well, looks like we can only go up, and moving ever so carefully, we discover a grenade bouquet hanging from the ceiling above the stairs. This was attached to a handmade tripwire. Oh, and there's also another makeshift bomb and another handmade tripwire. Well, if you're not spec'd into stealth, don't be charging up these stairs. As we continue to creep up, we find another makeshift bomb affixed to the banister. And as we carefully, very carefully reach the top floor, we find a blue door against the western wall. Heading inside is another cymbal-clacking monkey. Let's get rid of this thing. Any traps inside? Ooh, a rigged shotgun on a dresser. Disarming the trap and the tripwire, we see a hole in the wall to the north. This also is booby-trapped. We can fix that. And disarming a combat shotgun and laser rifle trap on a bed in this room, we can creep into a bedroom that apparently has no other connection to the main house but through that giant hole in the wall, which makes me wonder where the door was before the apocalypse. On the bed lies a woman's skeleton. To the east is another bureau, and on the bureau is an arrest warrant. Arrest warrant issued by Nahant Police Department. Date October 22nd, 2077. To all law enforcement officers, You are hereby commanded to arrest Gregor McKenzie, born January 3rd, 2032, address 85 Ocean Street, Nahant, male, 6'1", 180 pounds, brown hair, brown eyes. Charges: unlawful construction/excavation, malicious mischief/vandalism, damage to municipal property, contempt of administrative order, public nuisance/endangerment, destruction of police property, a Protectron unit, theft of Nahant Public Works Department water treatment network blueprints map. This warrant is issued based on probable cause established in report blah 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 blah. Issued by Officer Brian McMillan, badge number 415. Wow, the occupant of this house before the bombs dropped got himself into a lot of trouble. Perhaps by reading this terminal we can learn more, but before we do that, we find a holotape on the bureau. Beast Hunter's Log number 1. And playing it in our Pip-Boy, we see that this creation actually comes with new audio recordings.
The Battle of Hoover Dam, Nevada, 2277. Troy Morton of the New California Republic Rangers. This is my story. We were getting hammered by endless waves of Legion at Hoover Dam, and as a last resort, we lured them into Boulder City. You see, before the battle started, we'd rigged enough explosives to level the entire town, making it one giant death trap. As we fell back to the town, half of the NCR troops we left with were cut down by Legionnaires, leaving only myself and my ranger buddy Jackson to reach the detonator cache. Jackson had taken a bullet to the leg in the retreat, so I had to carry him to the building containing the detonators. From the second floor, we watched in horror as the Legion's red feathered helmets emerged from the highway. They were out for blood. Before I could turn around, Jackson had already grabbed one of the detonator switches and told me to get out of here. He was going to stay behind and blow the buildings as they charged in. With his one working leg, he practically kicked me out the window. And before I could run to the edge of town, the earth-shattering explosion rippled through my body. Within an instant, Boulder City was reduced to Smolder City. An entire Legion warband was wiped out, along with my friend. Months later, I was called in by General Lee Oliver. They wanted to do a parade in honor of the heroes who survived the battle. But I was no hero. Jackson Krager was. And the best he got was his name etched on a stone memorial, only to be lost in the sea of others. I told them they could shove their parade up their ass, and I quit the NCR the next morning. Some would call me a deserter, but I've seen how they treat their fallen, and I wanted no part in their coming war. But I've seen how they treat their fallen, and I wanted no part in their coming war.
Whoops. Looks like a slight glitch in the holotape recording there. So whomever left this holotape was a veteran of the first battle for Hoover Dam. The holotape recounts the story of the NCR's victory, their ultimate battle at Boulder City, and how Chief Hanlon and his Rangers lured the Legion into Boulder City, only to blow up the entire town, destroying the Legion in the process, which led to the NCR's victory. This man, this Troy Morton, became disillusioned with the NCR afterwards because he lost his best friend, Jackson Krieger, and he felt like the Boulder City War Memorial was an inadequate tribute to the heroism of his friend. Indeed, the memorial is filled with names. Easy for his friend Jackson to get lost here, but we actually find his name here. Ranger Jackson Krieger. It's actually on the memorial in Fallout New Vegas. Nice touch, guys. While listening to the holotape, I saw that there was something under the bed, a powerful sniper rifle, and also a box of ammo that I couldn't reach. Now there's a wall safe here and a terminal locked with a novice lock. Hacking the terminal, inside we find 4 entries and save control. Gregor McKenzie, personal log, the guy who lived here before the bombs dropped. And the first Charleston Herald interview with Sam Blackwell. Saw the interview with Samuel Blackwell on the Charleston Herald today. He looked tired and paranoid, but not crazy. Not really. He talked about sinister forces at play, saying they're planning something. He warned not to trust the government and to begin prepping for the worst. The end is coming. Most folks at the diner laughed it off. Just another politician cracking under the pressure. But there was something in his eyes, like a man who's seen the edge of the world. I've felt it too lately. Military convoys moving through the city at night. Air sirens tested too often. The radio skipping like someone's cutting pieces out of the news. Maybe it's nothing, but maybe it's not. I'm gonna stock up on some supplies. Maybe reinforce my basement, just as a precaution. If Blackwell's right, I don't want to be the one standing on the porch when the sky turns white. So somehow this Gregor guy in Boston got his hands on a copy of the Charleston Herald because he's referencing Samuel Blackwell, the senator from West Virginia in Appalachia. His story plays a prominent part in the plot of Fallout 76. I covered it in depth in my video on the full story of the Enclave. In the next one, planning permission. Tried getting the planning permits to have the reinforcement work done to my basement, but each application was denied. Their reason is that there's a significant risk of causing damage to a sewer system that's beneath my property. Bullcrap, that's what that is. In the next one, the first shovel. I've been reading what's going on in Appalachia and across the country. The president is nowhere to be seen. I need to do something. I'm wasting time hoping we'll be selected for one of those vaults. The sewer system. I wonder if I can dig down into it. Put as much ground between myself, my family, and the bombs should things get hot. And in the last one, cease and desist. Got a warning from the city inspector. Unauthorized excavation, they said. Violation of zoning code. They're threatening me with arrest if I don't stop. The government's got its vaults. I'll have mine, even if I gotta haul every bucket of dirt by hand. Finally, we can access safe control and unlock the wall safe. Inside, we find a copy of the Nahant sewer blueprints and a Nahant sewer key. The blueprints are just a miscellaneous item. We can't activate it in our inventory. Well, Gregor had a family. We find his wife's skeleton lying here on the bed, but no evidence of what happened to Gregor himself. Then there's that Troy Morton guy whose voice was on the holotape. He must have come here many years later, after the first battle for Hoover Dam, and left the holotape here for some reason. But I wonder if he ever truly left. We just read about a bunker Gregor was digging, a sewer system beneath the house, a nearby diner. I wonder if we can find it. There was that door on the bottom floor, and as we get close to it...
Can't open it from this end.
I'm only gonna tell you this once. Unless you don't want to become deathclaw food, piss off and don't return.
Whoa! That's a threat. And it comes from a voice we recognize. That's the same voice that was on the holotape. Troy Morton. Sounds like this former NCR Ranger found Gregor's bunker. But the door is chained. We need to find another way in. Thankfully, we've got the blueprints of the Nahant sewer system, which tell us that just outside this door is an entrance to the Nahant sewers that thankfully we can unlock now that we have the Nahant sewer key. At the bottom of the ladder, we find ourselves in a brick-lined sewer. There's evidence that someone slept here recently. We find a sleeping bag next to a barrel covered in candles, a couple of stim packs, a revolver, and a holotape, Beast Hunter's log, too.
No more rationed meals, no more cushy cot, no more orders. I haven't felt this alive in years. Never forget that Rangers are natural survivalists. I can hack it on my own. Free of the NCR, I'll have to find a new purpose. I'm sure whatever I'll do will be moving people on from the border walls of New Vegas or enforcing tax laws on the poor souls of this hellscape. There is the promise of civilization to the east, near the DC area. It sounds like a wasteland mirage spun by a ghoul, but it's the best chance I've got. Well, logging off for now. We'll keep heading east through the plains.
So Troy left the NCR and moved east because he heard about the Capital Wasteland. Perhaps he heard about Project Purity and the clean water that everyone got there. Perhaps he learned about the relative peace thanks to Lion's chapter of the Brotherhood of Steel. At any rate, that's what started his journey. But how did that journey go? And what brought him from DC up to Boston? Continuing to explore, at the bottom of a ramp, we find a man's skeleton. This must be the skeleton of Gregor, the man who owned the house above before the war, the man who was digging in these sewers to build a fallout shelter for his family. He never finished. His wife died in the house. We find another copy of the same arrest warrant on the ground and a ruined police protectron. Looks like this protectron tried to arrest Gregor, but Gregor fought back, destroying the protectron, but dying in the process. Oddly enough, we find an option to repair the protectron, which brings us to a dialog box that says, repair the protectron. Okay. That's all it is. We can't actually repair it. Well, rest in peace, Gregor. Let's see exactly how much of the shelter he managed to build before he was killed. We can climb through a hole in a pipe to navigate a bunch of twists and turns until we hear something up ahead. Crap, was that a deathclaw? Oh, that's right. The gunners in the house. They came here looking for deathclaw eggs. Could there be a deathclaw nest in this sewer? Oh, man, great. Well, I think that answers our question. Oh, what? It was close. Very, very close. There are cracked deathclaw eggs lying here. Oh, no. Soon we see a light at the end of the tunnel, and we exit the pipe to enter a large, partially flooded chamber with pipes crisscrossing the ceiling above. There are rad roaches everywhere, and we see a human body hanging over a catwalk. Ah! Oh, it's big. It sounds big. What does it mean? Oh, there's a deathclaw somewhere. Heading up the side of this wall, we see a path to the south and a catwalk to the east. That's where the body was hanging. I wanted to see if I could get to that body. Sure enough, we find a bit of a walkway across these pipes that we can use to traverse to the other side. Here we find more rad roaches, and we see that the body hanging over the catwalk is a raider corpse. Looks like more than just gunners have found their way into the Nahat sewers and met a grisly end. We find more raider bodies, Brahmin bodies. Something big and hungry was either guarding this place or hunting above ground and bringing his prizes back down here. On a shelf nearby are some stim packs and chems. We find more broken deathclaw eggs that we can't interact with, but that's it for up on this ledge. So back down to the ground, we can cross to the other side, and this time move south. Here we find a door in the western wall. Inside is a small room with a table and more rad roaches, and the place is decorated with Institute consoles. Oddly enough, those are straight out of the Institute for some reason. On the table in the middle of the room are a couple of containers, a deathclaw hide, and another holotape. Beast Hunter's Log, number 3.
I've made it to the plains and found a small settlement. The locals haven't seen a ranger before, but they let me stick around and earn a few caps. As long as I clean up the mutant wildlife. Bloat flies, mole rats, rad roaches. So many things out here that want to suck your eyeballs out of their sockets. It's good work, though. Reminds me of when Jackson and I would take turns shooting geckos while on watch in Western Valley. Feels like a lifetime ago. Logging off for now.
Behind us is a terminal, and from here we can access Protectron control. Activating the Protectron opens this charging bay, and a utility Protectron walks out. Wish I found that guy sooner. But that's it for this room. So heading back to the flooded portion of the sewer, we can continue down a northern pipe. At the end, the pipe opens up into another brick room with a huge vaulted ceiling and another radroach. Oh! Oh! The deathclaw again, and it threw a body down here. The body of a raider. Through that hole. Ew. The floor is littered with cracked deathclaw eggs and the bodies of raiders, traitors, ghouls, Brahmin, mole rats, and more. Exactly how many deathclaws are hiding down here? Climbing some steps, we loot some containers, kill some radroaches, and peering through a hole in the wall, we see that there's a tunnel off to the east. At the top of the stairs, we find more dismembered bodies, another radroach, some more chems, and another holotape on a barrel. Beast Hunter's Log, number 4.
I've made it further east. Turns out killing mutants earns you the nickname Beast Hunter out here in the wasteland. Kinda like it. This new settlement wouldn't let me in unless I dealt with what the locals call Martha, pointed to a nearby cave. I agreed to the job, but what they failed to mention was that Martha was a freaking 8 feet tall Yaoguai. Before I could reach my holster and get a shot off, the bastard lunged the length of the cave and knocked me down. With one swipe, she clawed my helmet, smashing the lens and sending glass shards into my eye. She started to bite down, trying to crush my helmet open like a walnut. I somehow managed to grab my skinning knife strapped to my thigh and gutted her right there. It took several hours for me to crawl back to the village where they finally took me in. They were grateful and offered to patch me up, saying, "We're not doctors, but we can weld anything," bolting an eye patch onto my ranger helmet. Sadly, my ranger coat was ripped to shreds. As a reward, they offered me a jacket. Not just any jacket, though, but a lucky 38 club jacket. I guess they used to hand these out to exclusive casino members before the bombs fell. The elder of the village said they traded it for 3 bags of powder from a merchant a while back. Since I'm from the Mojave, he figured I'd appreciate it more than most.
Ooh, wow. Well, Troy lost an eye, but he got a lucky 38 jacket as a reward. Not really a fair trade, but I'm sure the jacket was cool. Now, as we've been listening to these holotapes, we've also been periodically looting playing cards. Not with every holotape, but we have looted 2 so far. But I couldn't find them in the miscellaneous section of my inventory. I finally found them in the mods section. Judge Ace of Diamonds and Judge Ace of Spades card. What exactly are these mods for? Hopefully we'll find out soon. To continue, we find an access point to that cave we saw through the hole in the wall. And as we squeeze through it... Well, those gunners are relentless. So many of them dead, and they're still trying to get a deathclaw egg. Not smart. At length, we stumble upon that gunner's body, and it's missing a head. His body rests right before a door, but this door is locked. It's a security gate, and it can only be opened with a terminal. So we're gonna have to come back later. Continuing forward, we kill more radroaches until we find another door in the western wall. Heading that way, we see a catwalk up and a catwalk down. The catwalk down leads to a flooded section. All we get by swimming down here are a couple of containers to loot. So swimming back up, we can take the catwalk up into the north. Eventually it splits. There's a path with a door to the west and a path with a door up to the north. We'll go north first. We arrive in a small room with more radroaches and a terminal. On the desk next to the terminal is a bottle cap mine and 4 brand new explosives. Flashbang grenades. Stuns targets, causing them to flee, and reduces move speed for a short duration. Only does about 5 damage, but damage isn't the point of these grenades. Cool. I wonder if we'll find more. On a cabinet, we find a bunch of stuff, food, chems, and more flashbang grenades hiding in a box here. On the other side of the broken terminal is a cracked deathclaw egg, some ammo, and Beast Hunter's log number 5.
My goal of reaching the eastern border states is coming close to an end. I've climbed the mutant food chain to where I'm slaying deathclaws as a profession. Guess I fully embraced the Beast Hunter title. I started this journey almost 6 years ago, and while serving in the NCR has become a distant memory, the memories of my ranger buddy Jackson will always be with me. On my journey to DC, I came across a Brahmin trader who warned me of crossing into the Commonwealth regions. I think they're filled with rival factions and ferocious beasts. Then he took one look at the deathclaw hide hanging from my shoulder and figured I could take care of myself. From looking at the trade routes this merchant gave me, DC looks to be a hotbed for bandits and slavers, and reports of the Enclave have been seen there. If I go any further south, I'd be in Appalachia country, and with rumors of tribes fighting over live nuke sites, I better stay clear. That leaves Boston. Guess I'm heading there to rest my head. Logging off for now.
With that, we loot a copy of Judge Ace of Hearts card, another mod. This is the universe's first reference to Appalachia as it is after the events of Fallout 76. And sounds like if the rumors Troy heard could be believed, then the descendants of the Vault 76 Vault Dwellers are still in Appalachia. They've settled down, formed themselves into tribes, and are still accessing America's nuclear stockpile and launching nukes at the area. But from this, we learned that Troy never went to DC. He heard one rumor that it was a great place to be, another rumor that it was too dangerous, and decided to just skip it altogether. It took him 6 years to get this far, but this is ultimately why he decided to go to Boston. Against the eastern wall is an advance-locked terminal. I couldn't hack it. But if we could, all we find is Protectron control and safe control. And inside the safe, just some ammo and scrap. Well, this room is a dead end, so heading down the ramp, we can turn right to open the western security gate. We kill more rad roaches in this room. While looting, we find a destroyed Protectron, the skeleton of a Nahant sewer worker, presumably. Plenty of containers with loot inside. More Institute consoles, for some reason. And another terminal. Inside the terminal, we find 3 options. Looks like the top one unlocks that security door. So moving to the second, new batch of Protectrons arriving soon. New H4RY model Protectron arriving this Tuesday, and needs someone to be there for its delivery. We can't miss this again. Boss will chew my ear off like it's my fault. And in the last one, push for Protectron in hazardous waste handling. Please note that there is an increased push for the deployment of construction Protectron robots within the workplace. These units are being prioritized for the handling of hazardous waste materials to significantly enhance safety protocols. Further details regarding implementation will be shared soon. Thank you, Angus, Nahant Water Treatment Plant Chief Manager. Alright, so some lore trying to explain why so many construction Protectrons are found in the Nahant sewers. With the terminal entries read, we can access the top one to unlock the water intake hall security door. An alarm starts blaring. Following the cables in the ceiling, we can retrace our steps back to the security door, which we now find open. Heading inside, we find a room strewn with more bodies, gunners, and Brahmin. And as we move forward...
You're not the first fool to come down here, although I must give you credit. You made it further than most.
Ah! Oh no! Survive the ambush! A sewer grate opens, and out comes a deathclaw named Bessie! Good girl, Bessie.
I've got this one. Make sure that was all of them.
Down, Bessie, down.
Bessie! No! Bastard! You're gonna pay for that!
Well, what did you... Oh, no.
We've got this. Just keep the cool.
With that, Troy attacks us with the very flashbangs we have found scattered across the sewer. We can't see a doggone thing, but suddenly we get attacked by a man wearing a broken NCR helmet.
Fucking kill!
Daddy! Send the tangle with this man.
Jackson, brother. Finally coming home.
Another one for the Minuteman.
And with that, we kill Troy, the Beast Hunter, and send him to his eternal rest. I just want to point out the awesome connection that they did here. His best friend's name is Jackson. Troy ends up becoming a Beast Hunter and tames a deathclaw. The deathclaw mutated from the Jackson chameleon. Troy lost one Jackson and then freaked out when we killed his replacement Jackson. Poor Troy. He was such a cool character. Why did I have to kill him? On his body are more flashbang grenades, a weapon called Marksman's Judge. It's a revolver shotgun. Headshots can stagger and deal escalating bonus damage. This bonus resets if a 4-second timer expires, but each headshot refreshes this timer, allowing you to maintain it. What a cool looking weapon and an absolutely unique legendary effect. We also find a Ranger Beast Hunter helmet and a Ranger Beast Hunter outfit. I can't wait to explore all of this loot, but let's find our way out of the sewers first. Heading up the stairs, we find a middle platform with an advanced locked terminal. I couldn't hack this, but if we could, all we find is Protectron control. And we'll learn exactly what this is connected to when we cross to the far eastern platform. Here we find a bank of construction Protectrons. So I suppose if we had a stealthy character, we could have made combat much easier for ourselves by accessing this terminal and releasing all of these Protectrons. We find a number of containers against this eastern wall, but to continue, we drop down to the ground floor and pass through the western sewer grate that Bessie opened to attack us. On the other side, we find more gunner corpses and a couple of hatches inside some diagonal pipes. One is locked and requires a terminal, but the other is unlocked. Inside, we just find a pre-war skeleton. There's a bed down here, some caps stashes, a number of first aid containers, and an end-of-dungeon steamer trunk. On a table bedecked with deathclaw hides, we find the Beast Hunter's log number 6.
I've reached the state of Boston, and already I've seen a heavy presence of the Brotherhood of Steel here, with news of a larger force arriving soon. That's bad for me. They'd likely hunt me down and interrogate me for days if they found out my past with the NCR. I've got to find shelter, avoid detection from their scouts. And just by luck, I found a bunker on the east side of town. The bunker's door was barred on the other side. The only way in was through a nearby sewer that also turned out to be a deathclaw nest. And most people would have run back out the sewer grate at the sight of deathclaw eggs. My occupation, however, has steadied my nerves for this exact scenario. I'm going in. There's a wasteland legend of one who raised a deathclaw since birth and was able to tame it. Maybe it's worth a shot. I'll try to raise one for myself. Signing off. If this is indeed my last log, it didn't work.
But we know it did work because we just fought his tamed deathclaw Bessie, which means there's probably going to be at least one more log. Heading up a staircase to the south, we find a terminal that we can unlock with the Nahat Sewers Terminal C4182 password. Inside, we can lift the plant system emergency lockdown. With that, the alarms stop blaring, and we see that the locked hatch in the diagonal pipe is now open to us. The pipe goes down into the west and ends at a grate leading to the beast hunter's hideout. The pipes twist this way and that. At one end, we find deathclaw eggs in a chem cooler, but this is a dead end. So going down the next pipe, we arrive in an earthen dugout. This must have been the part that Gregor was trying to dig beneath his house. We find lots of junk and containers strewn all around, but at the end of this walkway, we arrive inside a basement turned into bar, and we complete the quest, Home Away from Home. On a table in the middle of the room is the Beast Hunter's log, number 7.
My home away from home. My own corner of New Vegas. I've reached the end of the world coming to Boston. There are no further treks for me to endure.
Every once in a while,
wars to fight.
you run across someplace like this, and you remember that the world can still
I've spent
be
the
a
last few
beautiful
months
place.
putting the shelter together, raiding surrounding buildings to create my final resting place I call the bar. Fitting place to reflect on past adventures, I'd say. It's not home unless it's worth defending, and boy have I wired this place with traps. Not to mention Bessie, my pet deathclaw I've raised since a hatchling. Yes, I'm just as shocked as you are. It actually worked. And once in a while, I'll hunt food for her to keep her from hunting it for herself. Otherwise, another caravan trader will go missing. Again, not good if you're trying to stay undetected. To anyone that wants to take this bunker away from me, prepare for war. And if some lucky son of a bitch manages to put me down once and for all and take this place for themselves, drink up. The next round's on me. Troy Morton of the NCR Rangers, signing out.
Well, okay, I'm glad that he was all right with his looming death, but I'm still sad we had to kill him. I didn't want to have to kill him. I wanted to sit down and have a beer with him. We'll find out later that there was a bounty on his head because he didn't do a really good job of keeping Bessie contained. As he said, she would go out to snack on caravans. We found raider bodies and gunner bodies, but even Brahmin and trader bodies in the sewers. So he had made a nuisance of himself and failed to keep a low profile. This bar is beautifully decorated, bedecked with containers and ammo absolutely everywhere. We find another copy of Guns and Bullets on a shelf to the south. This is an identical copy of a magazine that was already in the world. I'm presuming that the bonus stacks, though I wonder what additional info the sole survivor would have gleaned from it, reading it a second time. And then on the bar, we find a copy of the Wasteland Survival Guide, issue number 2. Again, a duplicate of an existing magazine already in the world. There is an advanced locked safe here. Inside is just ammo and chems and scrap and stuff. Though oddly enough, this safe has a giant shelf passing all the way through it. To the north, we find a staircase going up, and at the top, a chained door. Activating it, we arrive in the room that we first saw upon entering the house. Now that we've made that connection, we can head back down. And passing through a hole in the northern wall behind the bar, we find a workshop. Here, a sign on the wall reads, Rook Military Surplus. There's a deathclaw head with a shotgun in the mouth, a board bedecked with weapon and weapon parts, an armor workbench with a map of the Commonwealth on it. And looting the map gives us the Beast Hunter's note. With that, we begin the quest, Legendary Hunt. Reading the Beast Hunter's note, met a grizzled tracker today. He reeked of rat-away. I traded him a handful of 308 rounds for a surprisingly detailed map of the glowing sea. He swore he'd charted it himself and claims he spotted a legendary mythic deathclaw out there. Bigger than a damn ruined house, he said, his eyes wide. Bigger than any he'd ever seen, he insisted. The map looks legit. The beast? Well, that's either a tall tale or a good hunt. If he isn't lying, legendary mythic deathclaw are a rare find. Definitely worth a look. I could use a new pelt and trophy if I'm feeling suicidal. So he never managed to hunt down this deathclaw. Looks like he left that task to us. To gain access to this place and turn it into a player home, we activate the workshop. We can now build to our heart's content. On a cabinet to the east, we find another note, flashbang grenades. Bright flash, loud bang. They won't see you coming or going. Used to use these in the NCR to scare off critters from our post. Worked great against those Legion bastards too, albeit non-lethal, but bought us precious seconds on a sweep. Ingredients, 2 aluminum, 2 acid, 3 fertilizer, 1 spring. Effects, temporarily blinds and disorients targets in a small radius. Don't get caught in the blast without sunglasses on. After looting this note, we can now craft flashbangs from a chemistry station in the grenade section. Nice. I wanted to work on my new gear, but activating a weapon workbench, I discovered that the workbenches we find here are not connected to the workshop. They don't share inventories. Presumably this can be fixed by simply scrapping it and building a new one, but that's a problem for players who don't have the local leader perk and never plan to get one. At any rate, we find a number of wonderful upgrades for this weapon. I chose to change the receiver from a shotgun receiver to a 50 caliber receiver. I gave it a long barrel, a long scope, a suppressor, and at last we understand what those Judge card mods are. We can attach them to this weapon as charms, and each of the cards has a different effect. The Ace of Clubs grants a small knockback chance and gives the gun better bash damage. The Ace of Diamonds grants better critical shot damage and better critical shot charge. The Ace of Hearts grants a small chance to heal us when damaging targets. And the Ace of Spades gives us +2 to luck and refills our action points on a critical hit. I liked that one the best, so I left it on. It's a beautiful looking weapon. The stock is covered in deathclaw leather, and there are engravings all over it. The name of the weapon is engraved on the grip next to the cylinder. Judge 12 Gauge, McCallum Arms Company. And each of the cards that we can put on the gun has its own unique skin. My only complaint is that the diamond and heart cards are black instead of red for some reason. But if we rechamber the weapon to use 50 caliber rounds instead of shotgun shells, we actually see it visually depicted. We see the shotgun shells in the cylinder, and if we rechamber it, we find the 50 caliber rounds. Examining the armor in an armor workbench, we find that this workbench is also not connected to the workshop. We can modify the helmet by giving it either a night vision lens or a thermal vision lens. I chose to give it a thermal vision lens. It's going to highlight living targets while sneaking. And we find a jaw attachment. Adds Deathclaw jaw to the helmet. increases charisma? Backing out of the workbench, we find the deathclaw jaw lying on the armor workbench.
Bingo.
How does this increase charisma? Dear God. Aside from the charisma, it appears to be cosmetic only. It has no other effect. As for the outfit, looks like it's considered to be an armor outfit, not an article of clothing, as we can't upgrade it with ballistic weave. However, it has many of the armor modifications that we're familiar with. I gave mine an asbestos lining, and it comes with a bandolier option, but to craft it, we need a mythic deathclaw hide, which we don't have. Looks like to complete our outfit, we need to go hunting. And there's a glove mod. I'm assuming this alters our unarmed damage. We can have electrified knuckles, which electrocutes a target, electrified serrated knuckles, which electrocutes and bleeds a target, and stun pack, which electrocutes and has a chance to stun a target. Well, to complete our outfit, we need to go hunt that deathclaw. And the note said that it's in the glowing sea. Heading to the glowing sea, we find that the map points us to the decayed reactor site, a location that existed in the vanilla game but was underutilized. Wonderful that the quest is sending us here. Now, this decayed reactor site is close to the crater of Adam, so as we approach from below. I wanted to see if I could get some high ground to make sniping at this deathclaw easier, and sure enough, I found a ledge overlooking the decayed reactor. But to my dismay, I found two deathclaws there. The mythic one we were looking for, and a regular glowing deathclaw. Well, it's time to test out our new weapon, and our new legendary effect. I used a flashbang to try and stun them, and it sent them running away. They hid behind some rocks, which made it harder to snipe at them. But we can try to get headshots, because remember, the legendary effect of this weapon deals escalating bonus damage each time we successfully land a headshot. Each time we land a headshot, a 4-second timer starts, but if we're quick enough and if our aim is good enough, we can chain these headshots so that we're constantly doing escalating damage and potentially staggering our enemies. The weapon is really powerful, so I whipped through these deathclaws without much of a problem. And on the corpse of the legendary mythic deathclaw, we find the mythic deathclaw hide. Oh look, it's already been tanned and cut to shape for us. How convenient. Heading back to the Beast Hunter's hideout, I should mention that yes, we can fast travel to and from the player home, unlike all of the player homes that we got from the bunker creation that came with the anniversary edition of Fallout 4, making this Beast Hunter's hideout much more practical to use. At the armor workbench, we can attach the bandolier, which improves carrying capacity. And if we don't already have the Wasteland Whisperer perk, the bandolier grants it to us while we have it equipped. Nice! And by crafting the bandolier, we complete the quest, Legendary Hunt. Here's a shot of the new armor set, side by side, as it appears when we get it from Troy and after modifying it with the Deathclaw parts. Both versions look really cool. As we learned from his holotapes, his helmet was damaged by a Yaogwai. We see claw marks over the left eye and a welded patch where the tribespeople who rescued him tried to repair his helmet. He's wearing a California license plate as a belt buckle. He's got the NCR riot gear as armor beneath the Lucky 38 jacket that his tribal friends gave him. These textures are absolutely stunning. I don't have the high-resolution texture pack installed on this machine because I found that it conflicted with the Anniversary Edition. These textures just look stunning out of the box. And that is the tale of the Beast Hunter creation. It's an excellent little quest. A fun story well told. There were some minor glitches with this creation, but nothing that got in the way or ruined the experience. And the loot we walk away with is nothing short of astounding. The lore tie-ins to the story of New Vegas were well researched and didn't conflict with anything. It had a lore tie-in with Fallout 76. They managed to use a pre-existing name on a memorial in Boulder City to include with the story and tie it in to this character's love of deathclaws, having mutated from Jackson chameleons. Just top-notch storytelling. The player home is just stunning. It's plenty roomy, it's decorated beautifully, you can actually fast travel to and away from it. Everything about the player home and the quest in general takes place in underutilized portions of the vanilla game, so it doesn't cross paths with any existing quests or any other creations, making it a pretty clean little installation with low chance to conflict with anything. I walk away really impressed with this one. It's right at the top of my list of favorite creations for Fallout 4. What do you all think? What did you think of the story, the armor, and the weapon? Were there any other connections to Fallout New Vegas that you noticed that I missed? Let me know in the comments below. I'm constantly publishing new Fallout content, so if you don't want to miss my next video, be sure to subscribe. My 2026 thumbnail calendar is available. This calendar has some of the best artwork that I've commissioned for my YouTube thumbnails this year. The print quality is stunning, the calendar is big enough to actually use and write on, so if you still need a calendar for 2026, be sure to snag one now. But more than anything, I'm just so glad you're watching. Thanks again, and I'll see you soon with more Fallout videos.
Damn it, where are they? Glad that's over. For the finger!